This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Aaron Maté. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. Well, dozens of pro-Russian rebels have reportedly died in fierce fighting at the airport in the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk. The rebels seized the airport Monday morning. The Ukrainian government responded with force, launching airstrikes and paratroopers. The fighting began just hours after pro-European billionaire Petro Poroshenko won Ukraine's first presidential election since the ouster of Viktor Yanukovych in February. Poroshenko took about 55% of the vote, enough to avoid a runoff. Polling stations never opened in parts of eastern Ukraine, where pro-Russian rebels have formed a self-proclaimed People's Republic.
After his election, Petro Poroshenko said he was ready to negotiate with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but he ruled out any talks with pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine. To talk more about Ukraine, we go first to Donetsk. Christopher Miller is an editor at Kiev Post. He's been based in Ukraine for 4 years. Talk about the results of the election and who the man is who won.
The results of the election were Poroshenko winning by a landslide, and with much more than 50% of the vote. However, that percentage in Donetsk region specifically was much lower. The turnout here was about 15%. I did speak with some people who were able to vote, not in Donetsk city proper, but in a western city here called Krasnoarmeysk. Some of them voted for Poroshenko, they said, because they had no other choice. They had no one who represented their views in the region. Others said they voted for the former Party of Regions member Sergei Tigipko. But there was very little support for Poroshenko in Donetsk, and more than 80% of the population was disenfranchised here.
You are right near the airport, Christopher. Can you talk about what's happening there right now?
Yeah, I'm several hundred meters from the airport, as close as I can get right now. There's about 6 dump trucks full of dirt. They're being moved into the street and used as barricades. There are several hundred tires stacked up in front of them, the sort of first line of the barricade, and everything is wrapped in razor wire. There's about 30 armed rebels here, several with anti-tank weapons draped over their shoulders, all with Kalashnikovs and pistols tucked into their flak jackets. It's a pretty tense scene. There's some locals standing by and about a dozen journalists as well. We're not sure exactly what's going to happen here. We haven't heard gunfire for several hours, but there was several bursts of it earlier this morning.
And Christopher Miller, the new president, the president-elect Poroshenko, has promised to negotiate with the rebels. But does this latest flare-up of violence, does it portend a wider conflict?
It's really hard to say. Poroshenko obviously hasn't sworn in yet, and he might be involved in discussions regarding the anti-terror operation that's being carried out here. But the orders are still coming down from the interim government and interim president. He said that he's planning on coming out east. It's going to be difficult to get out here, obviously, with the airport closed, train traffic, in and out, and barricades erected all around the region. But I might have to go in a moment. Some people are moving, and I apologize.
No, that's okay, Christopher. Very quickly, how many people have been killed where you are at the airport?
Around the airport area, after my visit to the morgue about an hour ago, 33 people had been identified as pro-Russian rebels that fought with Ukrainian forces yesterday. They were heaped into a pile at the morgue that was being guarded by several other rebels. The lead investigator there said that several of them had been killed by Kalashnikov bullets. One man was seriously mangled. His left leg was missing, and his arms broken from some sort of blast. Other reports from the Donetsk mayor have said 40, possibly 43. 2 doctors I spoke to said 45 and 43 rebels have been killed. Both of them and the lead investigator confirmed with me that 2 civilians were caught in the crossfire, 1 man and 1 woman, and both died.
And finally, the significance of Donetsk in the struggle, and if you think Ukraine could divide. You're in, of course, right in Donetsk, which is in eastern Ukraine.
It's hard to say. It does seem as though, as tense as it is, that the Ukrainian troops have the upper hand. Most of the rebels fled the central administration building that they'd been holed up in for more than a month last night, including the separatist leader, Denis Pushilin. And the Ukrainian military has taken control back from the rebels of the airport here. Certainly they recognize the significance and importance of the airport here and don't want to lose it. But it seems as though the momentum is in their favor. I guess we'll see how today plays out and if they can remain in control here.
Well, Christopher, stay safe. Christopher Miller, editor at Kiev Post. He's been based in Ukraine for 4 years. When we come back from break, we'll have discussion about what's happening overall in Ukraine. And then